If you are waiting on God for your husband or for your wife, I want you to ask yourself something. Am I doing anything that would tell somebody or show them that I want a husband or I want a wife? And if you can't answer that, or if it's hard for you to answer that, today I'm talking about what you need to be doing, what you should be doing while you're waiting on God. So, welcome back to Relationships Ain't Easy. Today I'm talking about part 2 on God's waiting on you. So, in part 1, I'll put that in the description and you can watch that. But we talked about that there's a group of people who they've been believing and praying, asking for God and asking for a husband or a wife. And unfortunately, though, it's been 10, 15, 20 years. And, again, you can watch the video, but I'll talk about a lot of reasons why that's happening. But the main reason was while you're waiting on God, God's waiting on you. And there are action steps that you need to take to do your part. There's a part you have to play in it. And if you're not playing your part, then, of course, you're going to be waiting 10, 15, 20 years. Okay? So, today I'm going to help you understand what you should be doing. I'm not going to be able to tell you everything. I'm not going to be able to go into great detail for time's sake, but I'm going to tell you enough that you should be able to know your next step. You should have a good starting point. You should be able to find something that I say in here that you realize, okay, hey, that's a weakness. I need to work on it, or that's something I need to do. And I'll remind you, like I said last time, when you take these steps, most likely they're going to be something that you haven't done before, and most likely it's going to require you to take just a small step outside of your comfort zone. Okay, so that's my warning. It's going to require growth. Okay, so let me get into the two main categories. The first one is becoming a better version of yourself, becoming the best version of yourself, or becoming who God's called you to be. And then joining Coed community, or becoming part of a Coed community. So let's jump into these. So becoming a better version of yourself. We're all human. That should be obvious. We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. There is going to be something we need to learn. And I like to say it like this. If you're going to be successful in life, if you're going to get the most out of life, you need to be continually learning, continually adapting, and, taking your strengths and making them stronger, and taking your weaknesses and making those stronger, right? So it's the same thing. This we're talking about life. When you're trying to find a husband or wife, the thing that you should be doing to help speed up this process as much as possible so God's not waiting on you is become a better version of yourself. Become the best version of yourself possible. So I'm going to break these down into some smaller categories. First thing is you can work on creating a strong first impression. A lot of times the difference between getting a first date, or let's say you go on a blind date, getting a second date, is that first impression. What perception do people have of you when they first meet you? And to do that, now when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking about like fabricating some persona or whatever you think people want. I'm talking about actually being you. Now I have another episode all on this, and I'll put that in the description. And it goes into more in depth, and I actually have multiple ones, but I'll put those in the description so you can watch those and learn from those. But quick overview is, your first impression. To work on that, you can work on things like, your hair, your clothes, your style. Like you can work on, this eye contact, is how you carry yourself. So you're working on your first impression. You're working on your habits so that when you meet someone for the first time, you can be yourself. And then just being you because you worked on those habits will make a strong first impression. Okay. You can also, or you should also be working on your character. You want a wife or husband or character, and they're going to want another husband or wife or character. And I'm talking about, are you disciplined? Are you honest? When you say you're going to be someplace, are you going to be there especially are you going to be there on time? Are you going to do what you say you did? Are you going to, how do you treat people? Stuff like that. Do you have a relationship with God? If you're a Christian and you're looking for a Christian husband or wife, guess what? They're going to be looking for a Christian husband or wife. And that's going to be one of the main criteria. So you need to work on those things. I talked about this in another episode where I was saying a lot of times in our world, we get so caught up on what we can see. We get caught up on, how much money they make, what's their social status, caught up on their beauty, how they look. Those are bad indicators of someone being a good husband or wife. What's a better indicator is their character. So you want to work on your character. And then last but not least, you're going to get a vision, make a plan, and execute it. Okay. Now, this is especially important for men, but women, you need to do it too. But especially for men, this will help set you apart from the rest of the guys. Okay. This will help you have that good first impression as well. Get a vision. I'm going to give you a quick example. Let's say you want to be an entrepreneur. You say, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to, here's this problem that I'm solving, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I want to, you want to change the world or whatever. Or you want to, have a company go from zero to bringing in 500 million in revenue every year. That's your vision. Now you make your plan is you break that up into steps, how you're going to do that. And so you might say, okay, well, first, I need to come up with how I'm going to solve it. Then I need to come up with, maybe it's going to cost me more money to get started. So I need some money so that I can create a prototype. And then once I get the prototype, then I'm going to do this and it keeps going on, right? So you need to execute. You need to execute because, that plan is just dead in the water until you start executing, until you start moving. So, and I want you to understand this. If the people who've been watching my podcast, they're going to understand, okay, I need to be, when I'm first meeting this person, they say they have this vision. I need to watch to see how they're executing. It may be a 20-step plan and they may be on step 6. But that's okay. If you're on step 6, you can see that, okay, well, they went through step 1 through 5 and now they're on 6. Are they working 6? Do they know what step 7 is? Like, for instance, with entrepreneurs, you can say, hey, I'm finishing up the prototype. And then once it's finished, I'm going to start looking for investors, show them that. And then that'll allow me to produce this, en masse and move forward. So execute so people can tell that, okay, they have a plan. They had a vision, they have a plan. They're taking steps towards it now. And then while you guys are dating, you watch to see if they're making those next steps. Okay. So become the best version of yourself. And the other thing is you need to join a Coed community. So one of the things I realized, the people who are waiting 10, 15, 20 years is that they go to work, they go to church, and they go to home. And then they go to work, they go to church, they go home. And they repeat that. And that's the only places that they're going. So finding out how to be in a place where women you can be found and men you can find is important, and is an important action step for you if you're believing for a husband or wife, right? If all you go to is work, home, and church, and what I heard a lot of people in these groups say is that they don't like anybody at their church. Now, there's no one at their house, and if God were just to drop someone into your house, that's not going to work, and it's not going to happen. But you would be calling the police anyway. So you want to be in places where you can find and be found. All right. and you want to join communities. Like you want the main thing to be to actually make friends and join a community that you want to be a part of. When I was dating, we had a small group in our church, and it was a community, and it wasn't all about dating, but they had singles and they put them together. And, we went out and we did things, and we met on a regular basis, which is another key. You want to meet on a regular basis. And it was perfect. When you're in a community, it allows you to, when you first meet someone you may be interested in, that first glance or whatever, it gives you that chance to kind of see, well, how do they interact with other people? Are they just nice around me? Or they treat everybody else like trash? Or, what do other people say about them? One of the things that my wife told me that made her feel like I was a good guy was how she saw me interact with other people, and then even how other people talked about me, even when I wasn't around, in a good way, and how she saw people respond to me in the community. And I think that's a much better way. And that's something you can't get if you just if you don't know any of their friends and they don't know any of your friends. Like you miss that, and it takes a lot more to get to that point. So if you're in a community already, I think that puts you a few steps ahead of everybody else. And so, and I want to say this again, I went there to make a community. I was in that community for a year before my wife even showed up. So again, you're not trying to find immediate effects. Don't go into suspecting you're going to, the first day you join the community, you're going to find your husband, you're going to start dating and whatever. That's not what it is. It's going to be a process. Okay. And then I want to make sure that it is co-ed. That seems like it should be obvious, but a lot of people in this group, when they're waiting 10, 15, 20 years, like I said, they go to work, church, home. And when they go to church, they may be in a small group, but a lot of times it's just like it's a women's only small group. So again, they're limiting themselves and their chances of being found. And so in essence, they're hiding. So you want to be found. So you need to find stuff where you can be in a community, but also do stuff, you can do small groups at church. So I would say this: if you're at a church and you've been there for a while and you couldn't find anybody, or especially if there's no one you're interested in, you can stay at your church, you can go on Sundays, volunteer at your church. But I would suggest maybe you and one of your other friends who are single, find other small groups at other churches. Okay. I'm not saying completely just drop your other church, but find other small groups. You can also do stuff like, if you have hobbies and interests, which is smart, because like if you want someone who likes reading books, maybe you should find some book clubs that have men and women. Maybe, or, if you like working out, you love CrossFit, you're all about CrossFit, you find a place in CrossFit where there's men and women, whatever. Going to museums, wall climbing, painting, photography, just find something. Okay. There's all kind of things out there and you can find it. And then there's things online too. So you can join stuff where people, they talk on, I don't know, Zoom calls and stuff. So I would make sure that it was on Zoom call. You can run into some pretty embarrassing situations if all you're doing is texting. All right. So make sure you can see the person. So anyway, but join a co-ed community. And again, go into their friends first. You're trying to join a community, become part of a community. And then while you're there, be findable. And then, of course, be looking for someone that you're interested in. Someone who potentially could be a husband or wife for you. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you have a story about how this, you met somebody in some kind of small group or some kind of, interests, hobbies, like riding bikes, whatever. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. If you got questions, let me hear it. The best way to probably reach me is in Instagram. You just DM me. It's @relationshipsain'teasy, no apostrophe. And hey, if you guys come up with a good question, I will make a whole episode about it, and I'll even shout you out. And then If this has been helpful for you, I ask you to help me out too. Subscribe, hit that like button. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this, send it to them too, because my goal is to help people. I struggle with this area longer than I had to. And so I wish I had someone to tell me these things. And so I'm telling other people. But I appreciate you coming. Appreciate you listening, watching the video, and I will see you next time.